So as a B2B marketer or founder, you're probably all too familiar with the challenges of converting leads into sales opportunities, pipeline, and ultimately paying customers. Now, this is a common challenge I've seen across the board when both speaking and working with SaaS companies. They can easily get the clicks, the downloads, and the opt-ins, but only a small percent of those are actually converting into something meaningful. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing some actionable tactics that you can use to increase those conversion rates and also hopefully get back into the good books of your sales team. So if you don't know who I am, my name's Liam, and over the last few years, I've worked in the SaaS space, both as an early stage employee, and nowadays I'm the founder of DigiSeed, which exclusively works with B2B SaaS companies, helping them reduce their customer acquisition costs through high converting acquisition funnels. And as it says on the screen, we guarantee to decrease your paid acquisition CPA by 15% within 60 days. Otherwise, you get a full refund, and you can find out more about us, that offer, and the companies we work with on our website, which will be in the description. So what we're going to be talking about. So number one, why companies struggle to convert leads, 2 buttons you can press when it comes to lead generation, and finally, some tactics you can apply to improve your conversion rate. So why companies struggle to convert leads. So this is a cause and effect relationship, okay? Low conversion rates don't just come out of nowhere. They're typically the result of things going wrong across your funnel. And for me, these 3 common issues I've seen pop up across the board. So number one is ineffective positioning and weak offers. And these are a result of not having a deep understanding of your target market and persona. You know, how can you craft persuasive messaging and attention-grabbing campaigns if you don't really understand what your target market cares about, you don't know their challenges, their frustrations, or their desired outcomes that they're looking for? If you don't understand those at a really deep level, then your campaigns are just always not going to resonate. And so you really need to have a deep understanding of those things if you want to build standout positioning. And then also, it's a competitive space, right? There are so many SaaS products out there that when you scratch beneath the surface, they essentially do the same thing. They're the same product with very similar features, and they also have the same technologies under the roof. And so SaaS companies are failing to stand out. You know, when it comes to a features discussion, you're just getting put in a side-by-side comparison table, and you're probably competing on pricing. And so positioning is really how you stand out and take some of that market share from your competitors. And so secondly is low quality traffic. This happens because campaigns are launched that aren't attracting the right buyer persona. So the top of funnel metrics are being inflated, lots of impressions, lots of views, lots of visitors on the website every month, but only a small percent of them are converting because they're just not a good fit for your product. You don't solve a large problem for them. And also low intent leads. So just because somebody downloads a piece of content or watches a video or, you know, likes a post on LinkedIn or Twitter, that doesn't mean they want to buy your product, right? A lot of people just like free stuff. They are window shoppers, and so they have low intent. Somebody downloading a piece of content is far, far different to somebody booking a demo, far different levels of intent there. And so you need to think, you know, what content can you create to serve those with higher intent? And what can you do to nurture those with lower intent so you increase their awareness and ultimately they do purchase? And low quality traffic should be avoided at all costs, because not only is it going to negatively impact your conversion rates, it's also going to impact your customer retention. You know, those type of customers who purchase your cheapest plan are always asking for discounts. They're always bothering your customer support team, and they leave you at the first opportunity. This is because of low quality traffic, customers who aren't a great fit for your product. And so you should always try to avoid low quality traffic. Looks great in the ads account, your CPMs are low, your CPCs, CPLs are low, but really what matters is what percent of those are converting, you know, at what percent are you winning those deals, and how long are they sticking around? What's the customer lifetime value? Really, you need to be looking at those sort of metrics. Thirdly, so suboptimal post-click experiences. So when it comes to paid advertising, which is what I'm mostly going to be gearing this around, really most of the work is after the click takes happen. That's when the magic happens. That's when the persuasion happens. That's when, you know, you can get your sales argument across. That's when you can really persuade them. And so sending traffic to unoptimized landing pages or just destinations in general is going to affect your conversion rates, because if you're sending them to a place filled with distractions, sending them to a place that doesn't have great copywriting, perhaps even at a technical level, perhaps that destination isn't suitable for mobiles or the speed isn't great, so people are just bouncing. You're going to affect your conversion rates there. Also, a lack of demand capture. So definitely pertinent in the B2b space where the buyer's journey is long and complex. Very rare for somebody to just click a campaign or click an ad and purchase right away. And so you want to be capturing that intent. Only a small percent of people are going to book that demo, start that free trial. How can you capture intent from the wider, 18, 90%? What can you do to get them into your funnel and then convert them on the back end through various tactics? And then also poor lead nurturing. So let's say you have captured some of that intent, not following up with them correctly, sounding like everyone else, using these nicely designed emails that, give it away that you're sending automated emails right away, rather than being personal, authentic, building a connection with them, leading with value rather than just asking on every email that they hop on a demo with you. So always need to be thinking about your post-click experiences. Now, 2 buttons you can press when it comes to lead generation. So you've got quantity and quality. Now, of course, the higher the quality of your leads, the more they are going to convert. But sometimes it's not that easy because you can have the highest quality leads, but you just don't have enough of them. And so there's a balance to strike here. And so quantity is obviously higher volume, opening the floodgates. And this is most commonly achieved by reducing friction without your buyer's journey, making it easy for those leads to take that action. And so this can be achieved by various things, but some examples: using lead generation forms on ad platforms. So instead of, if you have a piece of content that you're distributing, rather than asking people or sending people to a landing page where they have to opt in and it's an extra click, is just using the in-app lead gen forms on, say, LinkedIn, Meta, even YouTube have it, where they can just put in their details there. Most of the time it's auto-populated, and so instantly they get an access to that. They're not having to take those extra steps. So you're going to see a higher volume of leads through there. Now, the consideration there is it's low effort, and so really it's low intent. Yes, you're going to increase your opt-in rate, you're going to get more leads, but again, you should be looking what happens to those leads on the back end. How many of those are turning into opportunities, into trials, what pipeline has been generated from those leads. So something you should always be testing. Ungated content, rather than sending people to a location where they have to give you their email, which most people are sick of, is just giving them that content, or just giving them that blog, or just sending them to a page that educates them about your product rather than having to opt in and download a white paper. You're going to see more people doing that. Scheduling links. So most companies are doing this nowadays using products like Calendly and Chili Piper. So rather than having people fill out these long forms and, have to go through 3 loopholes to book a demo with your sales team, just giving them that link straight away, or giving them, embedding Calendly on your page so they can select some availability and book a call right away, rather than having to go through those extra steps. And then, of course, self-service. So maybe taking salespeople out of the equation entirely. This is very classic in like product-led growth companies, where you can start a trial, you can test the product without having to speak to somebody. And if you like it, you buy it. So the product does the selling rather than having to go through those long sales processes. And so second of all, quality. So of course, the higher the quality of your lead, you're going to see a positive impact on your conversion rates, but it's not that simple. There's a balance to strike. So you could do this through having specificity in your messaging. What do I mean by that? So calling out the target audience. Hey, sales leaders. Hey, marketing leaders. Hey, HR managers. Because if you call them out, then that audience are going to resonate with your campaigns, with your adverts a bit better. If you're calling out HR managers and I'm a BDR, then I'm probably not going to engage with your ad. I'm not going to, download it just to see what it's like. And so you're going to increase the chances of your hook baiting more of those buyer personas. Improved targeting. This goes without saying. So especially if you're using platforms like LinkedIn, where you can quite literally say, I want people with this job title who have been in the role for this long at companies of this size, rather than say broad targeting, where it's like, okay, anyone who is interested in SaaS. Clearly, you're going to get a higher quality lead if you're being really, really specific and targeted on your ads. And then landing pages. So the benefit here is sometimes by adding that extra bit of friction in your buyer's journey, by having that longer landing page, by having a landing page in the first time, every lead that goes through the effort of reading that land page, of making that click, it kind of gets away. It gets rid of all the window shoppers who can't be bothered to take that action. And so each step adds some extra quality, some extra effort to those leads. But again, there's a balance to strike there, because you don't want like 10-step funnel, because nobody's going to complete it at all. So there's a balance to strike with how many of those steps are, what kind of friction you add. And it's not just about adding friction. Landing pages are also good because they give you more space to, communicate your sales argument. Rather than just in an ad, you can send them to a place that, educates them on the problem they're having, agitates it a bit more, introduces the solution, shows them social proof of that solution working, all of which is really hard to just do in an ad, and you can't really do in those lead gen forms. And so you're going to increase the quality of your leads through that way. Another way is having pre-call flows. So rather than, allowing anyone to book a call with your team, because inevitably you're going to get time wasters and unqualified leads, is having like a pre-call survey. So before they book a call, hey, what's your company size? What are you looking to achieve? What are you struggling with right now? What's your advertising budget? So you can qualify them straight away. If they're unqualified, you can either, cancel the call, or you can route them to, other team members who can deal with that. So let's say, really qualified leads, you'll send them to specific sales reps who can deal with them. So there are kind of some levers you can pull to increase your lead quality. Now, some tactics to improve conversion rates. So number one, your offer must be a no-brainer. It must be unique. It must captivate lead, because your offer is everything. You could have the greatest funnel in the world. You could have the nicely designed landing pages, these great ads, these great ad creatives. But if the market doesn't want what you're offering, then it's all in vain. And so everything comes down to your offer. And to create a compelling offer, you first have to have a deep understanding of who you're targeting. What are their challenges, their frustrations, their desires? What are their motivations? What would motivate them to buy a SaaS product? And then you need to craft your offer around those insights so it actually resonates with the market. You also need to know the awareness of your target audience, right? So you can have multiple offers as a company. It doesn't necessarily have to be your paid product. An offer is just something you give in exchange for the market's time or money. So it could be a piece of content, it could be a webinar, it could be a free trial. You can have multiple offers, but only specific offers are going to work with specific segments of the market. Now, what do I mean by that? So let's take a demo, for example. Only a small % of the market are going to want a demo. Typically those who are solution aware, they're product aware, they are actively looking to buy a solution. And so they'll happily hop on a sales call and, hear your pitch. Whereas the majority of the market aren't ready for that conversation yet. So you need to think about, what is the awareness of the audience? Where are they sitting within the buyer's journey, and what offer can I craft to target them? Those earlier in the buyer's journey, let's say they're sort of problem aware, so they know there is a problem that needs to be fixed. So for them, you probably want to create content that sort of pokes at that problem, agitates it so it becomes large enough that it motivates them to start looking for a solution. Or maybe you give them some free value that, solves that problem in a small way, takes them a few steps to that desired outcome, and then again plants that seed so they start looking for a better solution, which later down the line is booking that demo for your product. So you need to think of the awareness. Not everybody wants to hop on a call, a sales call or a demo. So how can you capture intent from the wider market? Now, the ingredients of a no-brainer offer. So how can you actually create these offers that the market can't resist? So number one is specificity. So what do I mean here? So your audience, calling out the audience, who would benefit from this offer, rather than trying to sell to everyone with a pulse, the whole market. You really want to nail down your ICP, solve a specific set of problems for a very specific group of people, and sort of build that tribe. You want to be specific about the problem you're solving. What challenge are you addressing? And then what benefit or what outcome does your offer deliver? How does it solve that problem? So you want to be really, really specific on that. And I'll show you an example in a second. Your offer wants to have high perceived value. So the value of your offer wants to greatly outweigh any associated cost. And that cost could just be effort. It could be, taking the time to engage with that offer. or it could be money, right? Paying for that offer. Everyone wants a bargain, right? And so we always want the cost that we're paying for things to be dwarfed by the value that we're receiving. Again, there's lots of tactics you can use there, which I'll talk through in a second. Risk reversal. So we want to reduce the anxiety in this buyer's journey. Naturally buyers are going to be skeptical. They're going to be thinking, oh, what if it doesn't work? What if I have to use my credit card? If this goes wrong, I could lose my job. And so we really want to reduce the anxiety through risk reversal. Quantifiable proof. So in a world of baseless claims where everyone's saying they can do X, Y, Z, you need to back it up. So straight after this claim that you're making this offer, you need to back it up with proof. Quantifiable proof, actually showing, quantifiable outcomes that have been delivered as a result of engaging with your offer. And then as I put here, you can add some extra spice with urgency. However, just tread lightly. Sometimes urgency, scarcity can come across as very, hardcore internet marketer. And people can smell fake urgency from a mile away. And so you just want to sort of tread lightly with that. But there are some other tactics you can do without saying, only 2 remaining. So to break down an example of a no-brainer offer. So what I did here is I transformed a very common offer, which would be like, email marketing platform for SaaS, which there are enough of those out there. I've kind of transformed that into what could be a no-brainer offer. And so let's read it out. So reduce short-term churn in the next 30 days with onboarding flows, no development required. Here's what you also get. So we've got some bonuses, and then we've got a risk reversal at the end. So let's break this down. So we're tapping into that specific pain point, which is short-term churn. So if you're familiar with churn and retention, very broad topics. Now, short-term churn is a extremely specific area of churn, typically associated with onboarding, expectations not being met, and also can be low quality traffic. So it's a very specific type of pain that only a specific set of people are going to be struggling with. We're then bounding it by time. So we're saying in the next 30 days, we're not going to say, it's going to take us 5 years. We're saying in the next 30 days, we're making it more captivating. So we're going to increase the likelihood of them taking action. And then we're also handling a common objection, right? With SaaS products, especially sort of more on the enterprise side, implementation can take weeks, months. If anyone's implemented a CRM, you probably know of that. And so we're handling that objection in our copy. We're saying no development required. This is no code. You don't have to bother your CTO. You can do this yourself. Reducing that sort of anxiety and any friction that would be there, stopping them from taking this offer. We're then increasing the perceived value. So, we're not just going to give you an email marketing tool. There are hundreds of them in the market that probably do the same thing. If you buy our product, then you're also going to get access to all of this. You're going to get a free A to Z onboarding masterclass, because people who buy this offer are going to care about onboarding. And so we're going to upskill you. We're going to, make you an expert. We're going to give you 17 plug and play email templates. Again, this is an objection people are going to have, like, great, we can use software, but we don't actually have the emails, don't have the time to create the emails. Well, that's fine. We're going to give you some templates of high performing emails that you can just plug and play. Again, reducing that friction and that anxiety. And then, you're going to get a one-on-one implementation with a retention expert, somebody who you can actually bounce ideas around, talk about churn. Maybe, they can give you a fresh perspective. And so this is, increasing the value massively. It's no longer just another email marketing tool. It's an email marketing tool with all these extra bonuses. And so we're just increasing that perceived value. And then, if this all hasn't worked, then we give a risk reversal. So you either improve your churn in the next 60 days or get a 100% refund, no questions asked. So, this is quite bold to do. Here's an example by vendor with a risk reversal in the wild. Now, a lot of people sort of cringe a bit at risk reversal. They're sort of not confident enough to do it. But the reality is, if somebody purchased your SaaS product and they're like, it doesn't really meet my expectations. I was expecting something else. I didn't really achieve the results I was hoping to get. Like, could I please cancel my subscription and get my money back? In most cases, unless you have it in your contract, in a lot of cases, you're going to oblige that. You're going to give a refund. And so it's absolutely no different to applying some risk reversal. So here's an example by a vendor. I'll try to zoom in a bit. So they have a money back guarantee on their subscription on their product. And so if we look at the enterprise, which is 120K a year, they are guaranteeing a 360K savings guarantee. So you're getting a 3x ROI guaranteed. And, this is working well for them. They're a very large company that's grown fast. And you can bet that their competitors aren't willing to do this. And so a really good way to stand out, because it just captivates people straight away. They're like, what? Really? I don't think that's true. And so you're grabbing their attention and they're sort of persuaded to learn a bit more. So really good tactic for turning, what are generally vanilla offers, sound like everyone else, to, standing out and building that positioning, so people come to you and you can take market share from your competitors. And here's sort of the value equation. So when you're thinking of like, okay, well, how do we deliver value? Like, how do we quantify what that value looks like? Well, here's a nice equation, and you'll have access to this document. So we want to think of the dream outcome multiplied by the perceived likelihood of achievement. So what is that dream outcome? What's the likelihood of that dream outcome being achieved? And then you want to divide that by time delay multiplied by effort and sacrifice. So these are the positives up top. Dream outcome, what is the likelihood of me achieving that outcome? And then, how long or how much effort do I have to give to achieve that outcome? And really that's the value. So it's all about lowering these as much as possible. So reducing the effort, reducing the sacrifice, reducing that friction and anxiety, and increasing the likelihood of that dream outcome actually being achieved. Okay, so next you want to optimize your traffic channels. As it says here, cheap traffic does not equal good traffic. Just because your cost per clicks are low, your cost per lead, you're smashing those CPMs. Really, you want to be looking, okay, well, how many of those leads, how many of those clicks, how many of those book demos, how many of them are actually turning into qualified sales opportunities? How many of those qualified sales opportunities are actually getting closed by our sales team? Because ultimately, that's what matters, right? That's the ultimate conversion metric. And so, try not to get blinded by the ad platform looking at CPM, cost per click. So you want to be looking at your funnel holistically, seeing, okay, well, how many of those actually become paying customers? And so some ways to optimize your traffic channels. So the channels that you're actually on. So think product channel fit. Some products are suited better to certain channels. So if you're an SMB, Meta or Facebook is great. It's cheap, it's cost effective, and it's one of the most popular advertising platforms in the world. So it has a lot of data. It's really good. If you feed it enough data, it's really good at finding more of those high quality leads. And even if you're not an SMB, just in general, it's good, it's cost effective. You should always be on it just for retargeting, if anything. And it's really good for awareness plays like top of funnel, thought-provoking content that plants that seed, gets people thinking, gets them to start recognizing your brand. So when you are retargeting them across the internet, it's starting to build that picture with them, starting to build that authority. Now, if your customer lifetime value is high enough and if your sales cycle is longer, then LinkedIn is really good for the B2B space, because it's second to none when it comes to targeting. You can quite literally say, I want to target VP of sales at SaaS companies of this size, whereas on Facebook, that's a bit more difficult to do, but there are ways to achieve the same outcome. And so just always think, are you on the right channels? Are you allocating your budget efficiently? Are the channels you on getting high quality leads or low quality leads? You always need to be thinking about this. And, really you're in competition with yourself. Don't, just because other SaaS companies are on these channels doesn't mean you have to be. So it's all what's suited towards your company. Now, targeting itself. So obviously to attract high quality leads, you need to know what a high quality lead is. And so that comes down to having a deep understanding of your ICP. So instead of saying, well, we target anyone who wants to do email marketing, we target anyone who wants to, have some revenue analytics, you need to get really specific on what the ICP is. So an example here, we target VP of sales at MarTech companies with 50 to 200 employees in North America and Europe, rather than, anyone who's interested in SaaS. Very different. You're going to get far different results there. So you need to get really specific on who your ICP is. And a good tactic to use here, so you need to build targeted lists. So you can either do native targeting in the platform like LinkedIn, Meta, Google, or you can use data providers where you can say, well, here's a list of ideal customers. They fit the demographic, the firmographic information, and then you can take those lists and upload them to the ad platform. So they're really good at doing that. LinkedIn's good at that. Meta's good at that. And so you're kind of taking B2B targeting to, in some cases like Meta, to these B2C platforms. So highly recommend you look into that to get to increase your lead quality, get more of those conversions. And then of course, this is Billy Basics, lookalike audiences. So people who have visited your website, people who have started a free trial, people who might have visited your demo page but didn't book it, people who booked a demo. There's all these different lookalikes you can build for different stages in the funnel that are going to get you different results. Of course, somebody who clicked the book a demo page but didn't book a demo, probably higher intent who somebody just visited your homepage and scrolled through. And so there's lots you can be doing on the targeting front to increase your lead quality and get more of those conversions. Now, for some people, you might not know how to identify your ICP. Probably the average marketer just goes to Google and searches, how to create an ICP, and they come across a HubSpot blog, and everyone's using the same tactics. So for me, it comes down to two ways. You've got qualitative. So this is where you actually speak to your customers, your existing customers who have converted. There's a reason they've converted, but also speaking to the wider market, doing some market research, figuring out what are the challenges that those buyer personas have, what motivated them or would motivate them to buy a product like yours. And then you can start to paint this picture that will help you target more people like that, also help you develop your offer and positioning. And then quantitative data. So analyze your customer lifetime value, analyze your ARPU, your churn, and then go a layer deeper, analyze it by geography, industry, different subscription plans, and other attributes. And this is about understanding, okay, what are the highest value customers to us? If you had two groups of customers, group one contributed £1,000 of LTV and group two contributed £3,000 of LTV. Well, you want to go more for group two, right? Because they're worth more to your business. You can pay more to acquire them, and they're probably the retention's clearly better as well. And so, it's just green ticks all round for group two. And so you probably want to start targeting more of group two and perhaps targeting less of group one because they're just not as valuable to your business. And so take a layer deeper, get into your CRM. What are the groups of customers who have the higher win rate on sales deals? What are the groups of or segment of people that have a higher conversion rate from lead to demo, or demo to qualified sales opportunities? You really want to get that granular to start building that picture of your ICP. And as it says here, right? So you've got your total addressable market, which could just be anyone with internet, anyone with a pulse, or anyone who's struggling with this problem. And really your ICP is a small subsection of your TAM. You always want to be aiming for your ICP because these are people who you solve a core problem for. They're more likely to purchase your product, and so you want to be targeting them rather than sort of broad TAM. Now there are some cases why you might want to go a bit more broad, especially if your TAM's really small. Then your ICP of course is going to be super small, and you always want to be prospecting into new audiences. But if you want to increase that lead quality, then you want to be really specific on who you're targeting. Messaging. So again, coming back to specificity. So in your messaging, you want to be, calling out your audience so it resonates with them. You want to be specific about the problem they're experiencing, calling it out. And you also want to be talking about the outcome. So you want to, with your messaging, you always want to pass what I call the what's in it for me test, right? This is the question that every single person asks when they come across your ads, your content, your website. They're always asking, what do I get out of this? What do you do? How do you do it? And why should I trust you? And so there's some good examples of this in the wild here. Let's zoom in a bit. Try a bit more. So here is Cognizant. So the first line of their ad is, don't waste your career collecting emails for sales, right? So they're tapping into a specific pain point here, which is spending a lot of time on lead generation or collecting B2B data. So that's only going to resonate with a certain group of people, which then is going to increase the likelihood of them, engaging with that advert. On the right, we've got tired of spending countless hours manually labeling your radiology data. So this is really specific, right? This is only going to resonate with a small segment of people, which is the exact segment of people they're targeting, right? So see how they're not just feature bombing people. They're not just saying we're great, here's our solution, here's what we do. They're calling out the pain points that grabs people's attention. Notice how it's on the first line of the advert, and then that hooks people's attention. So then they're persuaded to learn a bit more. They're persuaded to watch that video. They're persuaded to click that link to learn more. So you always want to be talking about the problems, being specific, calling out problems that only that audience would have, rather than being broad. And with your messaging, especially when you're launching campaigns for cold traffic, you need to stop feature bombing. What I mean by that is like, here's why our product is so great. Here's all the features we have, because cold audiences don't really care about that. They're probably earlier in the buyer's journey. They've never heard of you before. And so really it's just a cold pitch. So you need to be agitating the problem they're experiencing. Hey, sick of doing this, or are you struggling with XYZ? That's going to capture their attention, because they go, yes, that is me. You've got a micro commitment there, and then they'll be persuaded to pay more attention. Now, some not so good examples in the wild. So easily build and scale custom programs with house space. Now these are prospecting campaigns. So see straight away how they're talking about the solution. Straight away they're saying, here's how we're so great. They're even mentioning their company name. And then on the right, lead transformation effectively to create lasting impact and competitive advantage. So again, they're talking about outcomes, or they're talking about the solution. And it's very vague, right? Like, what is a custom program? Remember, this is probably the first time you've ever interacted with this brand. And they're talking about custom programs. Nobody knows what custom programs is. You need to be specific. What is, lead transformation effectively to create lasting impact? What does that mean? It's very vague. Even me, who looked at these ads, analyzed them, spent 5-10 minutes looking at them, even now I'm not 100% sure what they mean. And so the average person is going to, give maybe 1 second of their energy, of their focus to these ads. And so if you're not capturing their attention in that second, you've lost them. And so with cold audiences, try not to talk about your product and how great it is. You really just want to be planting that seed of doubt. You want to be capturing their attention by hooking them with some kind of challenge or problem or pain they're experiencing, because that's really what people care about. So testing and optimization. When you're running traffic, especially paid advertising, where it's expensive, you always want to be testing. You always want to be optimizing. Otherwise, your campaigns are going to stagnate. You're going to have a high frequency. So people are going to see your ads several times. And so they're going to slowly lose their effectiveness. So you want to systemize this. So a few steps that we do here. So we hypothesize, we come up with these ideas. I think if we do X, we will achieve Y result. You then want to prioritize those ideas. Some ideas are good, some ideas are not so good, and really want to focus on the ones that are going to have the highest impact. So you can use a priority scoring system. Let me know if you'd like to see ours. You then act on that, so you actually launch that experiment. And then, it either goes well, it either doesn't go so well, but in both scenarios, you learn from it. Okay, let's do more of that, or let's do less of that. And so you want to be doing this very often. We like to run bi-weekly growth sprints. So every 2 weeks, we're running a new experiment and learning from it. And so slowly, iterating, becoming better with each experiment. Something to consider here as well, as I've mentioned this before, it's you versus you. So companies like to really get trapped and lost in, benchmarks. So this is what this company is achieving. This is how they're performing. And it's all nonsense, really. You don't want to get blinded by peer performance. If you've got a 2% click-through rate or a 3% click-through rate, but you're, which is good, well, depending on what platform, but, your lead quality just isn't there, or you're not getting enough opportunities. Well, even though you've got a really good click-through rate, you're still not getting your desired outcome. And so don't get blinded by benchmarks, always just trying to push it a bit further, trying to improve. And of course, you need to identify where the bottlenecks are to focus efforts. You don't want to just be testing blindly, like, okay, Liam said we've got to run bi-weekly growth sprints. I guess we'll just run a growth sprint. You want to be monitoring your funnel. And each step of the funnel is going to have its own metrics, its own sort of considerations. So you want to be monitoring, where are those leaks? Oh, okay, our ads, the click-through rate's pretty poor. Okay, maybe we run an experiment there. our landing page, we're getting lots of traffic, but it's just not converting. They're not taking that desired action. Okay, let's run an experiment on the landing page. So there's lots of things you can do. You really want to focus your efforts, and this can come into your prioritization. Really want to be measuring it by like impact. What impact is it going to have on the wider funnel? Like, what's the effort required? So you can prioritize them. So looking at post-click experience, so how can we optimize that, experience after they click the ad, after they click the campaign? Like I said, this is where most of the magic happens. So landing pages are great for doing this, and some considerations here. Is your landing page congruent with the first touch? If you're talking about something in your ad, and then when they click that, you're talking about something different, you're just going to cause disjunction. You're going to cause confusion, which is going to, massively impact your conversion rate. In a previous video, I talked through the anatomy of a high converting landing page. So go and watch that afterwards. Also happy to provide this image to you if you'd like to take a look at it. And then using dedicated landing pages where necessary. So the important word here is where necessary. Dedicated landing pages, you shouldn't just, deploy them everywhere. It's really only if you need them. And what do I mean by dedicated landing pages? I mean, if you're sending traffic to, your website to book a demo, maybe you create a dedicated landing page for that book a demo page. Strip back any distractions like secondary links, putting social proof on there, really clearly communicating your value proposition. Perhaps it's more like middle of funnel where they're considering you, and you have some comparison pages with competitors, and so you have a dedicated landing page that breaks down why you're better than your competitor. And these can be really powerful to increase your conversion rates, rather than exclusively just sending traffic to your website where they're going to get lost. So capturing intent. So as I said earlier, the majority of leads aren't ready to purchase. So you need to think of ways to capture intent from the wider market. Like demos, they're going to capture intent for those really sort of active buyers. But what other tactics can you use for those who aren't so active, who aren't looking to purchase right now, but they're interested? What can you do to capture their intent? And so something we've used for some of the companies we've worked with are exit intent pop-ups. They're a great mechanism for this. And so here's an example where we converted, I think, around 7%, I think this is, of people who saw the pop-up into leads. And so this is 3.7 thousand leads that we got into the funnel who would have not otherwise got into the funnel, who would have otherwise left from the website and most likely never returned, because this only targets new visitors. And so that's, an extra 4,000 leads in the funnel that we can work with, that we can try to convert, who would have not done that, who didn't sign up for that conversion objective. And so we capture some intent from them, and we can sell to them through like lead nurturing and retargeting and that kind of stuff. And when it comes to business decisions, I'm always thinking about, what's the biggest lever we can pull? And so this is small input, right? Very easy to do, but it nets massive outputs, 4,000 leads for something that probably took 15 minutes to implement. So a really good way to capture intent. You can do this on your homepage. You can do it on blogs, various places you can do this to get some of that intent, get more leads into your funnel to convert them. And then lead nurturing. So I've talked about this a few times. So some principles we follow here and some trails of thought. So normal, not formal. SaaS companies are very guilty of doing this. Every email is very formal, very professional, very nicely designed. Now, the issue with that is you just sound like everyone else. And so in a lot of cases, as soon as we see those nicely designed templated emails coming from a generic sender interest, we just switch off. We just, delete it and we go back to our busy inbox. And so it's about standing out. It's about building that connection. And so another way you can do that is send from a named address. So rather than sending, from team@digc.co or hello@digc.co, send from Liam@digc.co. So we're building that personal connection. It's from Liam. It's not just from some random shared address. Using a profile picture, again, these sort of small little triggers that are going to get people to believe it's more personal. And in my opinion, try to avoid design templates. They definitely have their place. But not on like your daily or weekly emails, because again, we associate these design templates with marketing emails, which nobody wants to read. And just as a general rule of thumb, you want to give, then ask. In every email, don't ask people to hop on a demo, purchase your product, and they're just going to get sick of it. They're going to unsubscribe, and then you've lost your opportunity. So you want to give as much value as possible. If they have downloaded a piece of content or something, break that up into different chunks, give them checklists, templates, mini courses, even like playbooks. You probably know what problem they're looking to solve. And so think of what content, what value you can create to help them solve that problem in some kind of way. And as it says here at the bottom, they're going to purchase a product eventually. So why shouldn't it be from you? If you had two companies competing against each other, company one was just, asking them to book a demo all the time, being very salesy, or company two, where it's like they've added value, they've built a personal connection with that person, they've, created that relationship, but they're probably going to go with company two, because ultimately it's a human making that purchase decision, and, humans buy from humans, very cliche. So I hope you found that valuable. I think this went on quite long. But ultimately, that's why SaaS companies struggle to convert leads into opportunities, demos, whatever their sales process is. And here are some tactics that you can apply to, bring those conversion rates up. So the document will be in the description if you want to take a look. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next one.